and welcome to another episode of Veterans Voices. I'm your host, Ryan Luurtsema, Ocean County College. Today, we have Ray Boutwell, Petty Officer, 3rd Class, from the U.S. Navy, World War II, who served from 1944 to 1946. Welcome, Ray. How are you?
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here.
You for having me.
I'd love to have a conversation with you. We were speaking a little bit earlier about your experiences in the military and what you're doing now. If we can we set the stage once more? So why did you join the military, and what branch did you join?
Well, I joined the military because this was during World War II, and if you didn't, as soon as you reached 18, you had to sign up for the draft, and I didn't want to be drafted into any branch. I wanted the Navy. Why I picked the Navy, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I just, from hearsay, you know, the food was great and all that, and so that's the reason why I joined the Navy. But just to avoid the draft, more or less.
Okay, so from your experience, you voluntarily joined the Navy. You didn't actually get drafted.
No, I didn't get drafted. I volunteered, so I wouldn't get drafted.
Was the treatment any different from you volunteering?
I don't think it was any different. The thing is, you just get to pick your branch.
Okay.
And but I don't. They didn't treat you any different than you would if you were drafted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know a lot of men who were drafted, and they were treated well. So they were, they served well.
Okay.
And
so in the Navy, you became a cook.
Right.
And where were you stationed at?
I was stationed in Pomona. They call it Pomona Naval Air at that particular time. It's where the Atlantic City National Airport is now.
Okay.
And that was a naval air station. They trained fighter pilots there. That was when they were finished training. Their training at Pomona, they were ready to go on an aircraft carrier. They got their basic training in Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
And they had the same setup on the West Coast. They had a base in the southern part of the state where they got their basic, and they moved to the northern part of the state, and they got their final training as fighter pilots.
Okay. That's ironic. I live right outside of the airfield, Atlantic City Airfield.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I live right there too.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you always want to join the military out of high school? Did you have another plan? Or you just chose you want to join the military during the time of the war conflict?
Yeah, I like I say, I would have been drafted if I didn't join.
Okay, so it's pretty
that's
immediate.
the reason why I joined the Navy.
Okay.
That's just the only reason as I recall.
Now, why did you want to go into the food industry and service?
Well, I didn't want to.
Oh, okay.
I studied to be a machinist. I had 3 years of, I started out, learning to be a draftsman, and it was mechanical. You start out with mechanical drawing, then you learn to be a draftsman, and eventually you work as a machinist, and you can go from whatever direction you want to go from there.
Okay.
Doing that, and I got into the service. I had quite a bit of experience in carpentry. I took carpentry work in grammar school. I had 2 years of in grammar school, and I had 1 year in high school. And I always worked with wood. My grandfather was a carpenter. He was a builder. So I had that experience in the machine shop and the carpentry. But when I got to Pomona, I applied for all these positions, and of course, going in late in 1944, men were in like several years ahead of me. They had those jobs. The departments were filled up, so they stuck me in the kitchen.
Okay.
And while I got in the kitchen, I became, I was fortunate. I got, instead of general mess, I got chief petty officer. They put me in the chief petty officer's mess, and you got paid $10 extra for going, for serving chief petty officers. I was a waiter, more or less. I served the food to the, I took the food from the kitchen to the dining hall, and served the petty officers, and then we served three meals: breakfast, and the dinner meal, which is noon meal. That's their main course, is at noon. And of course we serve what we call supper. And usually when you were done, you secured the dining hall, you got an hour off to do whatever you wanted to do. And I was there, and I figured, well, I'm here, I want to learn something. So I walked into the kitchen, and instead of taking my break, I walked in the kitchen, and the cook says, what? He didn't put it in those words, but he said, what are you doing here? And I said, I thought maybe you could use some help.
Okay.
And he says, yeah, I can use help. So then he put me to work. And I learned, and then from then on, I learned quite a bit, because I had 3 months. I had to serve 3 months a mess cook. So I learned quite a bit in the 3 months. And I finished that, and so then I could pick some. I didn't have to stay in the food industry, so I picked storekeeping. So I became a store keeper, working in supplies. It was small supplies. It wasn't big supplies. It was like, flashlights and different tools and all that sort of thing. We served different departments. They put in an order. You filled the order, and it was sent to the different departments, whatever they needed. Screwdrivers, planes, whatever it might be.
Okay.
There was small equipment. It was small equipment. But I went on Liberty. When they give you, you get
was it time off?
Yeah, they give you time off, like maybe in the evening, like they'll say you give you 4 or 5 hours off, and every 2 weeks you get a weekend off. It did that time during World War II. So I had a Liberty, and we had a date with, it was 2 of us. We had a date with 2 girls. We took them to the movies, and we went to the diner afterwards. We have something to eat and talk. And so when my shuttle bus came to take me back, I got up and I left, and I got halfway to the station, and I had forgotten and left my wallet in the booth.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't have my ID and Liberty card, to show at the gate.
To get back on the base.
Yeah, to get back on the base. And the guy says, it's no problem, Ray. And make out like you're drunk. So I did. And in a way, I really put it on. I never was drunk in my life, And I put it on, and they got on one guy on each side of me, and they got about 100 yards from the gate, and they let go of me. Well, I should have fell on my face. And I didn't. I just kept walking, but the guard came after me with a gun drawn, and so the officer that was in charge of the stock room, he didn't want any foul ups, and so he shipped me out. So I went to the facility station, and I went right back in the kitchen. And I said, I served my time. You in 4-year hitch, you only had to serve 3 months in a mess hall. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, this is a different station. Well, it wasn't true, but I didn't argue with them. I figured, what the heck, I'll make the best of it, you know. So again, I went into the kitchen, mm-hmm. and after I secured the area that I was in charge of, you know, washing the trays and that mm-hmm. sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I just went in the kitchen, and the cook put me to work.
Okay.
And so.
Now, are you originally from New Jersey?
No, I was born in Vermont.
Okay.
I lived there until I was 14, and we moved to Connecticut in 1940. Mm-hmm. And I went to high school in Connecticut.
Okay. You know. And you enlisted in Connecticut and then just got stationed down in Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I served in New York, Boots, mm-hmm. in Sampson, New York. Well, that was the name of the base, Sampson. It was in Geneva, New York. And there was only 12 of us sent to the East Coast. All the rest of them out of 2 companies. Mm-hmm. The barracks held 2 companies, and out of 110 men in each company, and out of 220 men, the 12 of us went to the East Coast. Some from the other barracks, other company, and about half, about 6 from each company. We came to the East Coast. All the rest of them were shipped to the West Coast. They went to the Pacific. And we got here in October, came to Pomona in October 1944.
If you had a moment to reflect on a memorable experience while you served, what would that be? What was your biggest
While
takeaway?
I served, well, the most memorable experience while I was serving, I got married.
There you go.
So that would be the most memorable experience. Because I met a Jersey girl, mm-hmm. and she had her background was, she was 6 years older than I, mm-hmm. but her background was almost identical to mine. She lived on a farm, that was the same as I. And so I knew she was from a large family, same as I. So I knew she had been through all the things that I had, practically, you know, because of her background. So I knew we were compatible, and I just felt that she was the right person.
There you go. Okay.
Even though that she was older than I felt that I didn't have to, because I always had plans of going, even from the time I was 9 years old, someday having my own business.
Okay.
And I knew she would go along with it. Her mother was a business person, so.
So after you got out of the service, what was the quality of life for you as a veteran, serving your time?
Well, what do you mean by the quality?
So was it any different for you and your wife and your family as a veteran serving your time in service in the 1940s?
I had, they gave you privilege of going to school. They pay your tuition up to $10,000, I think it was. I'm not really sure now. It's been so long ago. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I decided I wanted to go to the restaurant and hotel management school in New York. Trying to see, I always forget the name of the college. It's one of the top colleges in the country. They they were, and they still are, the top hotel management course in the country. Because I talked to a dentist that graduated from there, and he said it still is the top college for hotel management. But but because I didn't take a college course in high school, it would have took me almost 2 years to get, and then there was no guarantee that I would get in, I had to take the, at that time, later on they made it more lenient for veterans to get into college of that kind. But at that time, they had pretty strict regulations. You had to pass, to get in. So I figured, I was married. I didn't think I could. So I went to a local cooks and bakers school in Atlantic City.
Okay.
I called Bach, got information from Bach, because they were the only, there wasn't many culinary art schools in the area at that time. They're New York, Rhode Island, and they had culinary art schools. But of course I wanted to go to something local, and Bach had a good culinary art course, but they told me that the vocational school in Atlantic City had one of the top teachers in the country. And they said, if you go there, you'll get a good education. So I did. I joined that. I signed up for it. The government paid my tuition.
Okay.
And I went to that for 2 years.
So fast forward a little bit. We were speaking earlier about you participating in the Freedom Flight and how you went to D.C. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I don't remember a lot about it. I know it was a great experience. I mean, all the monuments and so forth, and the history of, the different generals that served in the World War II, and it was just a great experience, to see what, different people, how they served and what they did for the country.
Was there a sense of camaraderie with the
other
veterans?
Because you could relate, with what everybody was doing. They were doing their best to serve the country. But it was also, because I didn't have those kind of experiences that a lot of them had. And I could, was really, we're proud of the fact that you were part of the whole thing, because, it was quite an experience. It's quite an experience.
Now, what you're doing currently now, it's quite remarkable. You're 95 years old and you're running a bakery. Can you expand on that a little bit? What made you want to do that?
Well, I'm a portrait painter also.
Really? I did not know. Okay.
Yeah, I've always been interested in art, and while I was working as a baker, I took courses, Eventually, I took 2 years course in Camden County College in art, and then I went to Fleischer for about 20 years. And then when my wife passed away, I was doing just about anything in art, whatever. And I decided that I would specialize.
In portraits?
Yeah, and so I was going to workshops, go and paint models, and I decided to be a portrait painter. And there was a teacher, she taught for 40 years in Jersey, and she was pretty good at portrait, but she said, I told her I was going to be a portrait painter. She says, you never make it. She says, I've been doing this for 40 years, she says, and I don't consider myself a portrait painter. I said, well, I'm going to give it a good try. So I studied under the top local portrait painters in the area. I studied under one in Philadelphia, Sue Fleischman. He was considered one of the top portrait painters in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put my heart into it. I belonged to a couple sketch clubs. All the sketch clubs I belonged to, my portraits look more like the person than,
Yeah.
you know, eventually.
I'd like to see a few of them.
I only got one commission.
Okay.
I should have stayed in that probably, because if I went online, you know, so I want to start up again, you know, doing that.
That's excellent. That's
Yeah.
excellent. And then
Yeah.
Your bakery, how did that come about?
Well, you know, I set up an IRA when I was in business. I had a bakery for 18 years in the Woodbury area, and I had my own, you know, IRA, and of course I did other investments besides. But when I retired, I didn't retire until I was 75. I sold the bakery, and I went to work for someone. I worked for them for 11 years as a decorator and consultant. I was going to retire at 70. They talked me out of it. They said, "Oh, you can't leave." So in the meantime, I was studying art all this time. And so anyway, in 2001, the funds, they didn't pay nothing anymore.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
they were paying pretty good. I was getting a fairly good income plus my drawing on my IRA. So 2001, they weren't paying much, but we didn't change our lifestyle, my wife and I, and we just kept, you know, we wanted to travel. We traveled because I only worked part-time as a baker, as a decorator and consultant.
Okay.
I only worked about 3 days a week, and the rest of the time we did whatever we wanted to do.
It's a good lifestyle.
So anyway, it became a financial thing. You know, I wasn't getting any money out of my investments, and I ran out of my IRA. I spent all my money on IRA. And I was reading an article in Cosmopolitan, and I was in a doctor's office of cardiology, and it's this lady opened up a business. She was a television executive, but she was pretty high up. But there was jobs that did come along that was higher up than her, and they gave them to people that were less qualified. 3 times they did that. She got mad, took $1 million, investigated boozy products. She'd always had an interest in, you know, liquor-infused food, and she wanted to do a cupcake shop. But she went a step further than I did. She bought a liquor license, opened a bar, and when she was, her first year, she claimed she did $5 million. No, $2.5 million. The second year, she did $5 million. And when I was writing that article, she was up to $8 million. But she had the bar and the food, you know, so yes.
It gave you the inspiration.
Yeah. Well, I was 8 years later before I opened. This is when I got my financial situation changed. My wife passed away, and I got restless.
Yeah.
I should have stayed. I mean, my daughter got real upset. I'm in my 90s now, you know, and and I could see her concern, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, 90 years old, open up. You know.
But it gives you a second wind.
Yeah. You know, I guess she thought I was senile. Maybe I was. But anyway.
Do you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it. I always enjoyed the challenge, you know, the challenge, and I was known in the industry as a problem solver.
Okay.
Anyway, and I just, you know, the challenge was there, and I did it. I was, you know, I had quite a bit of experience in carpentry, so I did all my own
Decorations and designs?
Remodeling, panel work, petitions, all that kind of stuff in the business.
So after opening up your bakery, as well as being a portrait artist, I have to ask, do you have any more goals for the future? What else do you want to accomplish?
Well, I always had a dream of doing ice cream, so I now do Boozy Ice Cream.
Okay.
I rented the store next door. I was going to open up an ice cream parlor, you know, and not just an ice cream, because there was ice cream, you know, drive-ins all up and down the highway that I'm on. So I didn't want just an ice cream. I wanted a parlor where people come in, play games, you know. It would be more or less more of an evening thing. But after the COVID's come out,
right?
The governments wouldn't allow seating. You have no seating. So I killed that. I dropped that, you know, no sense.
Right.
Open a parlor with no seating.
And what is your bakery called?
My bakery's called Ray's Boozy Cupcakes, etc. Because I do other products besides Boozy Cupcakes and regular. I do regular cups. I have about 7 or 8 flavors of regular cupcakes, and then I have about 15 to 17 flavors of Boozy cupcake.
Which one's your favorite? I have to ask.
My favorite is Paesano, which means friend in Italian. It's made with 2 wines, a Chamberson and a Burgundy, and it has a chocolate ganache filling. All my cupcake, all my Boozy cupcakes have a filling. Like if it's pina colada, it's got a pineapple filling. You know, if it's
that sounds awesome.
Yeah. So now we have Boozy Ice Cream. We have 5 flavors of Boozy Ice Cream.
Okay.
And we have Death by Chocolate, which is a big seller both in the cupcake and in the ice cream. You know, so it's really challenging because I knew very little about ice cream. I did a lot of research, and we're improving our ice cream all the time. You know, but we don't want to go into too many flavors because it overwhelms the customer.
Right.
You know. But we do a chocolate, regular chocolate, and a vanilla flavor, and we do a chocolate chip, regular without booze, and so, you know, so. The biggest one right now seems to be peach schnapps. That's going quite great. Peach schnapps and Death by Chocolate are one of the top sellers.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. So if I may, if a person comes up to you and asks you, why did you want to join the Navy? What would you tell that person?
Well, the only thing I can tell them is from other people's experience, the lifestyle of the Navy was appealed to me more than the Army. You know.
And would you do it again?
What?
Would you do it again? Would you join the Navy again?
Yeah, I would join the Navy again. I would join. Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it change drastically over time as well, from when you joined to what is currently in the Navy.
Yeah.
Have you been to all the ports in New Jersey? Have you seen any of them?
Not really.
No?
No.
Okay.
No. I did some in New England.
Okay.
You know, when we were traveling, I went to some of the naval ports. But I never went to many in Jersey. There was an air station that I didn't know existed in Cape May area.
Okay.
There was and I didn't know that it existed. Navy won't, during the war they didn't tell you anything. If you found out anything, it was from somebody else that was either there or, because of course they didn't want to spread it around, where they were.
Right, right.
As far as that's concerned, it is, like I say, the only reason I joined the Navy is from other people, from other people's experiences, what they told me and everything like that. But I mean, the only thing I can say is to any young person that has aspirations of going into the service is to research and find out, what as much as they can about that particular branch, what appeals to them and so forth.
So Ray, one last question for you is, if you could give anyone, veterans, advice in today's climate, what would you give? What would you tell another veteran?
Well, all I could say was, follow your dream, and work at that, stick with it,
That's good advice. It is.
Whatever you, just stick with it, as my mother says, if you put your heart in it, you'll make it, and I believe that's to be true, The attitude is everything, Stay positive, stay positive.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Ray.
Oh, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And thank you so much for watching another episode of Veterans Voices. If you want to learn more about the show, please check out www.go.ocean.edu/veterans. You can find the schedule and more information on the website. I'm your host, Ryan Luurtsema. Thank you again.